All right. I think we'll go ahead and get this started. We'd like to welcome everybody to our webinar today. This is going to be about QPro, and I'm assuming that most of the people that will be attending are either getting on QPro in the near future or are already using it. And so we have Licia, who here is our product manager, who is going to be leading us through this discussion today. We look forward to hearing some of her training that we're going to be looking at about product catalogs and other things that people seem to have the most questions about. And so we're going to spend a few minutes, give her some time to go over some things, and then we'll be taking some questions. There's a button in your browser there where you can actually hit on and submit a question. We'll be answering those as we go through here. So without any more else to do, Licia, I think we're recording. I think we've got that up and going. So we'll turn this over to you and give you some time to enlighten us.
All right. So thank you, Chad. Yep, we'll go over the first thing that we're going to start with is the product catalog and things that I'm seeing, helpful tips. I'm also opening it up to other panelists here of things that they have helped customers with. And then we'll also be able to have a time at the end to ask questions. So we're going to start with the product catalog and then the FC B2B. And then after that, like I said, we'll go through a question and answer section. And then I have some updates on things that we've recently fixed and a new feature that's going to be released. So there'll be some things at the end. So I hope you'll stay for that time as well. So,
by the way, this page that you're on right here, this is that we're seeing is this dev page, right? That people should be familiar with.
Yes, and this is our dev page that shows our releases, upcoming features. It shows our Twitter account, and I'll go over this at the end too for anyone that joins later as well. I'll go over our Twitter. If you're on Twitter, you can follow us. And then our big one is our Facebook QPro users group. If you're not a part of this and you're a QPro user, we definitely want you to sign up. Just for example, real quick, this morning, unfortunately, we had a server issue and our QPro reports had a bit of downtime, but it was reported to support. We could communicate that to all customers, and then it was fixed within an hour. So this is a great place to join and to communicate directly with me and the dev team and others at QPro. Awesome. Okay. Yeah. All right. Okay. So start, and Chad, anytime you want to jump in, anyone else on here where it's where you're finding things that people get tripped up. These are just some of the things I'm seeing. With the customers that signed up today, most already are using, or at least that I could see out, everyone had used the product catalog to some point. So it looks like everyone's pretty familiar. We have videos out there. I can show those. I'll show those here in a second. But let's get started with some of the things that I see happening, and I think that would be helpful in this training. So the first thing is when you log into QPro, you come to the home screen. The product catalog is found under the setup screen. And I'm sure a lot of you know this, but you can navigate by scrolling, or you can jump right to a section and it jumps right to where you need to be. So this is the product catalog. You'll see that one thing I do want to specify, and Chad, if you have a better way of saying this, is I think a big thing to always define here is the difference between a product and a material, because that can get confusing for some customers. And so I think of a product catalog as just that, a catalog. You're looking through potential material, potential orders that you could do. It's not a physical material at this point. So what you're doing is you're building out that product catalog of options, possible options that you could order from. A material is something that you would, it becomes a material, and in the material screen here, this is different from the product catalog. Becomes a material when you do a purchase order, when you're waiting to receive that. It's a physical inventory item. That's one thing that can help with any confusion if you can think of those as two very different things.
Yeah, a lot of times we like to say product catalog is analogous to a price list. So that's another thing people would be familiar with, another term, a price list and a product catalog, very same thing. Material would be analogous to an inventory item. So those are two different things. If you think about it in your store, a price list is a sheet of paper. An inventory item is something that's out in the back, that's actually in a warehouse, right? So there's just like there's two things in your company, there's two different sections in QPro that you deal with.
Yep. And in this case, a product is defined. There's three things to note here. A product is defined by a manufacturer, which is at the top level, description, and a color. Okay. And before we get into it even more to look at the individual fields and things like that, the biggest thing that I want to put out there is that I would recommend having one person be in charge of the product catalog. Now, if you're a bigger store and you have more than one, it takes those people to communicate very well. It should be someone that's detail oriented, that's careful, that is reliable and responsible. Because when your product catalog gets out of sorts, it causes a lot of frustration. It's difficult to use and find things, and then it's harder, I see, to clean up. So that's my biggest suggestion, is to have one person, if possible, that knows it, they're controlling it, they're the one that's editing the product catalog. Anything to add there, Chad, with what you've seen in that case? Okay. So there's different ways of adding to the product catalog. So I want to make sure everyone understands that. You can add things manually, like we'll do here in a second. You can also do FC B2B, which I would say we encourage as much as possible for those vendors that have FC B2B, and we'll go over that in a second. I'll show you the list of how to find that information. And then you can also import a price list through a CSV into QPro. So those are the three different main ways of getting information into your product catalog. The manual way is the slowest way, but it's also necessary when maybe you have imported things, but to edit, you will be doing that manually oftentimes. So there are reasons why you would manually be updating a product catalog as well. So the first thing is that I am in a demo database here. So when I click, I already have, you can already see I have manufacturers in my product catalog. And we know that because when you click, it brings up the full list of manufacturers. Or if you have a lot, or you know what you're looking for, you can narrow it down by typing in. Okay. One thing to note before I click here is you will see that there, by description, there is a gray color that doesn't allow you to edit. Well, I already clicked shot. Doesn't allow you to edit that until you make a selection. Once you make a selection, then description becomes available. So the idea of this is that you must select a manufacturer before you can go on to a description. And once again, you can see all of the descriptions just by clicking, or descriptions, there's going to be a lot more. You can narrow it down by typing and selecting. Once that's selected, then you can come to the color name. Okay. And we just have oak here on this one, but usually you would have even more colors, a lot of colors in the description as well. So that's a way to navigate and search, find things that are already there. The really nice thing about QPro with this new version is that you can edit any of the fields, but also scroll up and see what was in the description. So you can be at the color level and say this oak color is going to be different than, let's say, the cost at the description level. So we can update at the color level. You need to hit save, and that will update that color, but you can always refer to what was at the description level, especially if you want to put it back, you make a mistake, say you didn't mean to put 3, you can go back and you can save that there. So the biggest thing to note, I think that a little bit of training here is that each section, though, when you're making a change, you need to hit save. So save needs to be hit at the description level if you're changing something at description. Save needs to be hit in the section when you're updating something in the color section. We may try and make that workflow a little better, but for right now, that is, you want to make sure that you're saving based on the section you're in. Anything else with that, Chad, with updating, searching? Yeah.
Sometimes I might just say in the flooring industry in the past, if you were heavily into carpet, description was also known as style. And, so we've made it more generic, and because style is very specific to carpet, and people are doing other things in here like hard surface of paint or let's say appliances, different kinds of products. They're really usually not known as style all the time. So that's the reason why we've gone to description. It's more generic in nature.
That's perfect. That's a great thing to bring up. So one thing I want to show is, just so everyone knows, in the top right-hand corner of every screen on QPro, there's a question mark. And these are support videos. And I'm bringing this up because there is a video for the product catalog. If you go under setup and product catalog, there is a video that that goes through the fields more in depth, that shows how to add a manufacturer description and color, and it's about a 10-minute video that goes more in depth into that. So I would definitely check that out if you have any questions or you haven't been comfortable with manually updating, adding, or deleting a manufacturer description or color in the product catalog. One other thing, or a couple other things in the product catalog I'd like to point out is there is this export catalog button. Okay, for this to work, you need to select one manufacturer. It only does it by manufacturer at a time. And you would click export catalog. This is a great way to view the manufacturer, description, and color in a CSV. It'll download and export into a CSV, because that view for some of our customers has been really helpful to get a better view of like what's fully in the product catalog to view at once. We also have the export price list, and this would be, again, you would choose a manufacturer, you would export the price list. This is also a helpful view, but you can also edit the price list, and then you can re-import it into QPro and update it, just like we will do with like FC B2B. So it can do updates and matching by importing the price list back into QPro. So that's another way that can speed up, possibly for customers that want to edit the product catalog in that view using a CSV file. Let's see. Anything else that you would like to hit on? Anyone else on the panel with a product catalog, tips, tricks, things that you think are helpful before we move on to FC B2B? No? Okay, and we'll definitely leave some time here so you can ask for our guests to ask questions. So the next thing that we'll move on to is FC B2B. Now I would say, let me show this real quick before I get ahead of myself. Product catalog. If you go into that question mark, like I said, with QPro, there's a section that's importing CSV. and it gives you guidance on how to do that with a CSV file as well. So there are resources on our support site to help you, recommending style name patterns or description, I should say description, as we just talked about, that's interchangeable. That's also a very helpful resource with our product catalog. Okay, so we're going to go into B2B. I would say the first thing to touch on is that to see who our B2B partners are. We have certified partners where QFloors has made sure that they have good files, that they're in the format that we need, that we're able to import them into QPro. And so you can find that by going to the QFloors website. You go under partners and then B2B. And down here at the bottom, you can see the FC B2B certifications, and it has the table and you can find the vendors here. One thing to know, which is really nice, when you see the vendors, you can see these are all hyperlinked. So for instance, we're going to be using Shaw a lot today in our example. When you go, each vendor has a page like this, and it gives you the information for Shaw. But the biggest thing is that you have to have an account that you get directly from the vendor in order to use B2B. Is there any, we have right here under the B2B information, it has the email, how to request the B2B credentials. This is where you're wanting to look for under each vendor and get the credentials in order to set this information up in the vendor account. And I'll show that next. Anything to touch on this, Chad, extra with that?
No.
Okay. So let's go back to QPro. We're in the setup, and vendor accounts is still under the setup screen. So we'll just go right to vendor. And let's use Shaw. Now, one thing I want to point out that you'll see here is there's this column that's called B2B. Under that column, you can see there are some that have these check marks. What that check mark is when you click on one, so we're going to use Shaw here, you'll see down here at the bottom, there's an option that says enable B2B. Okay, so for any vendors, not all of your vendors will probably have B2B, but the ones that do, when you fill out this information after you get the account information from the vendor, like we just talked about that you're going to request from them, they'll give you an email, provide you that information of the B2B server, your username, password, and then you'll want to make sure that that is enabled. And you can see, you'll see it over on the left-hand side. That's where that check mark is coming from. If it's not selected, I'll show you in a second, and it won't show up when we go into the B2B screen. So it's really important that if they're a B2B vendor, that's selected so it shows up and we can use that in the next screen. As of right now, I only know of Shaw that uses SFTP, so this must be selected for Shaw. Chad, is there any updates on that?
There are some other ones that Mohawk is getting really close to coming out with that. I think Dixie is also SFTP. So there's on that setup page that you were just on, you know, on the website, it tells you whether it's SFTP or not. See where it says SFTP, go up right there. 2 down below where it's highlighted, where it says SFTP, right, you can see that that's how you know if it's SFTP or not. So I believe Dixie is, and then in the near future Mohawk is. So the whole thing about SFTP is for 20 years we have not had that. SFTP stands for secure FTP, right? And then FTP is just normal FTP. Well, with all the security concerns that have been coming around lately, more and more of these vendors are moving over to SFTP. So it's kind of it's a newly accepted standard that we're all able to adhere to now. It's been out for over a year now, year and a half. So yeah, there's a few, but I expect more and more of the vendors will start converting over to it.
Great. Okay. So,
By the way, can I, as you're talking about B2B here, well, go ahead and then let's go ahead and then I will talk just a little bit more about B2B in general at the end here. Okay.
That sounds great. Perfect. I just have a few more things to touch on. So, okay, so we have the vendors set up, added, ready to go. Now we can go over to B2B. So we're going to click on the icon next to, it's like got a little check mark. This is B2B. You can see Shaw and the others that are check marked. This is how this list gets populated, is by the active B2B. Okay. There is a video. Again, I'm going to show this again. When you go up to click on the top right of QPro, there is a video under, it's a little bit difficult to show, so I wanted to show it here under the product catalog, but it has the B2B setup. It will show a lot of the things we just kind of discussed. And then there's one called B2B imports, which is a little bit longer. So I won't go over everything here today, but it goes a lot step by step. And there's going to be an updated video that has the newer version of QPro, but the steps are still the same. And that's coming within the next week or two. So just wanted to point that out as well. So let's get back to here. What you're going to see when I click on Shaw, for this vendor, there's 4 files ready to be processed. Right now, we don't with B2B, because we don't have accounting in QPro, you're not going to be able, you may see some of these populated, but you're not able to do anything with them currently. So the vendor bills, PO acknowledgement, shipping manifests, all you'll be doing right now with our current version of QPro is the product definitions and pricing. Okay, so you would select that, go to download, and right now it's downloading the files. When that gets done downloading, you'll be able to go through and match, import, process, and this is what will update your product catalog. Today, we are having some issues with our server with some of our B2B and other things like our reports. So I was going to see if it would be nice to us right now. Brad is actively working on it, but it might not be very nice to us. So Chad, what would you like to talk about with B2B? Oh, here we go.
Well, it looks like it just went. There we go. Sometimes those files are rather large too.
This is our demo data, and we do have 2 files that are very large.
So, well, we should have taken the large ones out.
I should have cleaned them up.
Okay, well, that's okay. We're good.
It's good to show that. Okay, but there's a lot of things that the video goes into, but what I want to highlight today, because this is probably one of the #1 calls with newer users to QPro that I get. They come here and oftentimes they go, wait, let's take Shaw, for example. I'm doing Shaw, but I don't see Shaw on this list. Now we see Shaw on this list because this is my data, but oftentimes people go, where's Shaw? It was in the vendors, but it's not here. The first list was the vendor list. This list, once you've downloaded and gotten to step #2, notice it's the manufacturer. So at this point, this list is being, and you'll notice there's a lot more there now than was on the first list. This is not the vendor list. This is pulling from the product catalog, the manufacturers that are currently added in your product catalog. So that is where I see the biggest confusion coming in. With this example, we're processing from Shaw, and we want to do it under the Shaw manufacturer. So we will select Shaw. You can also see that there's a 3-letter character. It also shows what manufacturer, what file that you're bringing in. And you want to make sure that those 2 things match, that you're choosing the right manufacturer with the right file that you're processing. Now there is a situation. This is with like national distributors. You would want to make sure that in your product catalog that you have like Shaw, for example, created. So it shows up in here. So you can select Shaw, process the file, match the product, the descriptions, colors, and they'll update automatically. Chad, do you want me to talk more about the smaller distributors or the cases for that?
Yeah, so what you're doing here is when you select Shaw on the left-hand side over here in the list, you're saying, I want to put all of these products that are coming in underneath this manufacturer. I want to attach them to this manufacturer. There's another situation here where maybe you're dealing with a distributor, and that distributor is distributing products from many different manufacturers. And so there are times where you don't want, let's just take one, for example, JJ Haynes. They're a big distributor back out east. Sometimes you may not want to put all the products underneath the JJ Haynes manufacturer. You may want to separate out all the products by manufacturer into this manufacturer list. So when you select all here, it's not going to attach the incoming products to a manufacturer. It's going to search for a manufacturer within the file, try to match it up automatically. And if it's not there, then it will create a brand new manufacturer. So it is a little bit more complex, but there are situations where you don't want to put the products under JJ Haynes. You want them to go under Anderson Wood, under some other product manufacturer name, and so that's the way that you can, if you have more than one manufacturer in a file, that's the way that you can import it under different manufacturers all at one time, right? Is by selecting all up here at the top. Now, I would suggest that you only do that when you need to do that. Otherwise, we really suggest that you select a specific manufacturer and say, all these go underneath here. Shaw, Mohawk, Engineered, Daltile, Emser, all those, you should almost always select the manufacturer when doing this. Distributor like JJ Haynes, Ohio Valley, Jekyll, those kinds of places you may consider doing it the other way.
Yeah.
Did that help? Was that clear as mud? I don't know.
And there's support too, if there's questions about maybe how you want to do that.
Which way? Mm-hmm.
This is important to do this the way that makes sense and is clean, because this helps your product catalog stay organized and not a lot of duplicates and things.
I would say when you can do it this way by selecting the manufacturer. Only the other way should be the exception, not the default of what you do.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I'll touch on one other thing here probably though, because it's important, I think, with the processing options. You'll notice by default, QPro, we don't have update description name and update color name selected. And oftentimes this is because, well, manufacturers sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes don't have a very good description name. And so it's going to bring that in and overwrite or write that to what's in your product catalog. Is there other cases where that you don't like to select those, Chad? Is that the biggest ones?
Yeah, what happens is you'll bring in a catalog and the name that they bring in is not really clear. So you go in and manually update it like what Licia just showed you at the first, you'll change it. And so the next time we do an update, we don't want to overwrite the changes that you made. We want to keep them. And so, but there is a situation where maybe you want to just update all the names. And so that's when you would click them. And that's going to be the exception also, right? That's not going to be the default. Yeah.
And then you want to make sure you have you can bring it as square feet or use square yards. And these are only for rolled goods. It doesn't apply to hard surfaces because some files it's about half and half. Some of them use square feet and some use square yards. So to keep your product catalog the way you want, make sure you're selecting the right units to import. So all right, Chad, do you want me to go through one of these? The the video shows it. I can definitely do a match.
How long?
They're all
It's-
kind of there because we use these a lot, so there isn't a lot to
Yeah.
match to do. But yeah, this one's kind of a big file. Other than that, Chad, most of that was the biggest things I see, at least setting up and with the product catalog and B2B that kind of holds people up.
So when they import it, show them what they click on. So,
It's importing right now
oh, it is important.
Yeah.
Why is that not moving?
because this is a big file.
Like the percent, oh,
There
there
we
it
go.
goes, the percentage. Oh,
Yeah.
what did you click on to
Oh,
do that?
For this one, I just by habit clicked match.
Oh,
But you can see, yeah, there.
but once it matches everything, right?
Mhm.
Then to actually finalize it, you have to hit the import button, right? Is that
Correct.
correct?
Yeah, so you can see unmatched, updated. And now we're going to import. Import is still 0, so you're seeing that it updates as we go along. So import as well. Faster, usually.
So what we're looking at right here is the updated is what's going to be updated, right?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yep. Now we're gonna do next.
Okay.
And we
How
have
did-
1 of 4 complete. So now we have the next file. This is a different name, but it's still a SHA. So it's still selecting SHA. You would go through the same thing, match, import, and then next. So you can do multiple files at one time. It'll show you which file it's processing. And yeah.
Okay. And then you can just hit close to close out of here.
You can hit close when you could, yeah, you can hit close and then you can come back and pick up where you left off too.
Can you hit close at any time, even while it's processing?
It will do it in the background. So
Oh, okay.
once you've clicked to process, it will continue in the background.
All
I
right.
would recommend, though, if it was me using this, I would open another tab and you continue working as you're processing this.
Well, why don't you show them how to do that?
Okay. So you can right click and you can say duplicate. And usually when you're on other screens, it's not going to kick you out like that. And well, we just did some updates on sessions. Let's try that again when we're not in B2B. There we go.
So now you can keep working.
You could keep this, you could have one open in cells. You could have this other tab in materials. And you're probably not updating employee subs all day long. Oh, another one you could do is you could have reports open as well. So you could duplicate another one and have this as a reports tab. So you could go back and forth and have all of these different things running as you're working on B2B, as it's importing, as you're waiting for it to match. So yeah, that's really a powerful thing with QPro. To set up your workspace that is efficient and that works for you.
And then when you come back, it should say 100%, right?
Yeah,
When it's done.
it's
Is
still
that what you're saying?
matching. Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Okay. I have some updates, but do we want to take some question and answers on what we've already gone over, the product catalog and B2B?
I don't know that we have any questions.
Okay. Oh wait, maybe one. Oh no.
Yeah, there is no chat. It's only
Sorry.
question and answer.
Yeah.
So you can submit a question if you'd like. Here.
Okay.
Let's go back to just the speed issue here, not issue, but all right, so now it's updated
Mhm.
here. does that mean that it's processed?
Yes.
So it doesn't mean that 76 are still unmatched, right? That means that 76 are matched. Is that correct?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then you can just do your import.
Yeah,
That'd be
and the
next.
import button, becomes, it will hit 100, it'll go back to 0, and then import becomes available when you can do that.
And then if it doesn't match everything, what happens? Like, let's say it's a brand new file.
I think if it doesn't match, then it still has to go through the match process, doesn't it?
Yeah, but I'm just wondering what it looks like down here.
It says 0. I think it has a 0, but it has the 100%. And then import becomes available.
Okay, and then you just hit import and it will bring everything in, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And so this 100%, but now the next button was disabled until it was completed. So now we can say next, and then it starts back down to 0 again. And then we have the 2 out of 4 complete. And then we have another file.
So we recommend that you do this about once a week, is how often that you would do this update here. So that should get you pretty much up to date and keep you up to date. But you can see here how, like in QFloors, like in our other product, you have to wait for it to stop processing before you can do anything else. On this one, you can start the processing, go start doing other things, and then come back to it once it's done. So you don't have to sit there and wait for it to finish and be doing it in the background. So that's a great feature. I'm not seeing any other questions about this. I think you've answered most of the questions that have to do with product catalog. Maybe just show really quick how the product catalog is used on a sales order, right? So once you import, what that kind of looks like, the whole purpose, right, behind why we're doing this is so that you can add a product to a sales order. And why don't you just show them how that looks kind of like on a sales order when you go to do that?
Okay, we'll add alluring. That was a Shaw one that we had just brought in. So right here under the
hold on, you click the add button first.
Oh, sorry. Yes, I was going a little ahead of myself. I'm gonna update one so we have all the data there.
Sure.
I added a one thing to know when you're at the kit level, whatever you're highlighted on, whatever line is currently highlighted, I go and add a product. It's going to go directly below that. If I am on a product down here and I add a product, it's going to go down here at the bottom. So just be aware where you're currently starting when you go to add. When you click on the field, what you're actually seeing here are all of these descriptions, and it can be a lot. So this is where the search becomes obviously very handy. It's
40,000, 50,000, right? It could be a lot. All right.
And you're searching not just from a single manufacturer. This is a description or a style from all manufacturers that are in your product catalog. So for instance, if we go to alluring, what is helpful, because you can have a description that is or a product that is across different manufacturers. So we do have the first 3 initials next to the description name. You can see it in brackets that show who the manufacturer is as well. One thing to note, this is why it's important to have a clean product catalog, because it could be that these alluring are the same ones, but they've typed it in twice, one with alluring, one with alluring dash 12 with the width size. So this is an example of not to get your catalog having a bunch of duplicates and misnamed thing. It should be very clean, and it makes this process a lot easier.
Is the number at the end, the style, the description number?
Yeah, it's
okay. Like style number, description numbers, the one at the end.
Yeah.
And
that just makes it more easy to know exactly which one you're selecting too, when the description name can be a little different. So we were using oak, obviously colored, oftentimes there'll be more than one. So in this case, there's only one, and you select color. And now this is on this product line, it is matching up to an item in the product catalog. And this, instead of just typing alluring real fast, misspelling it, oak, unknown, but this way, if you have a clean product catalog, your salespeople know how to use it, it matches up. Then when it comes time to assigning material, it can find things. If you have material, as we talked about, created, it's easier to assign it, to find it, instead of trying to figure out what the salesperson was meaning when they typed in, maybe manually typed in something that wasn't in the product catalog. And then it also, where it is in the product catalog, it also speeds up the process if there isn't a material in the inventory to create a PO. You already have it pulling in from the product catalog, which then allows you to create a PO. Matt has a question.
Yeah, hold on. Let's put in the square yards there first, in 100 or something like that.
Okay.
And then show him the job costing, because that's really where the catalog comes into play, right? So your product catalog comes into play here, where you can see the cost, that unit cost, which is being given to you from your manufacturer. And that's what's being imported, so that we can calculate all these things. I mean, that price, the $2.86 that's out on charging your customer there, that unit price is based upon the $2 unit cost, right? That's coming in. And so a lot of the information that's being displayed here on the screen as you're filling out a sales order, a lot of this information is based upon what's coming down through these catalogs. And so, Licia's point as to it's clean and all that kind of stuff is all right. So there's a question. Do you want me to read it? Do you want to read it?
I'll read it. Is there a way to utilize B2B or the product catalog or reports to see discontinued products from our vendors?
Okay. I know the answer for QFloors. I don't know it for QPro. Do you guys have dropped flags on your products?
We do.
Okay.
So,
I think that's what he's asking.
okay. So if you come down to the, let's choose one here. Let's go to Shaw. And we have it at the description level. So even if we choose, let's say alluring, well, and that's funny. But yes, the dropped right here.
Does it display dropped anywhere else, like on the where you can see that it's dropped?
No, I think when you export though in the price list, I will take a look at that. I would think that's where it would be, was when you export it from the price list. Matt, let me verify that and check that for you, because that's the only place that I can, it's not flagged anywhere visually. In QFloors, where is it flagged visually? And that's something we can consider.
So we'll need to, probably copy what we've done in QFloors. In QFloors, it's in the description name when you're displaying the description out on the sales order, right? So you're on the sales order right there. And when you're in that drop down list, you will see a dropped flag there. So if they try to select one that's dropped, they'll know that it's dropped. So we probably need to look at adding that.
Yeah, that's a good thing, Matt. Matthew, thank you. Oh, reports. Now QFloors has a reports for drops or discontinued. We don't
really. No, we don't really have one, but you can see it. I mean, in that description name, the number 2 right there where it says description name. If you click on that, where you have your full list, you click there or do you hit clear or whatever? And then this list right here, all the drops are at the top.
Or at the top.
So anything that's dropped, so it will have dropped Alcova, dropped alluring, dropped amazing, dropped aspects. So you can see it in a sense, it is a report and it's right on this screen.
Okay.
I think that's why you want it. You want to know what's being dropped.
Yeah. And Matthew, I did an export of the, not the price list, but the product catalog, and it does have a column for it, but I'm going to make sure that it's working and that it's coming through.
So that would be a report that you could do. But we should be adjusting it here on screen. So in real time, people can tell that they're dropped.
Okay.
So let's write that one down. That's a good one.
That's a good one. Thank you.
All right.
All right.
Let me talk about B2B for 1 second. And if we don't have any other questions, we'll kind of end this. Been 45 minutes. That's a good amount of time. Should let you know that we have been involved with B2B from the very start. I have gone to every meeting every year for the last 20, I don't know, almost 23 years. I think it's more than 20 years. And we were at the very first one. There were about 5 or 6 of us, Shaw, Mohawk. Back then it was Bull U, not Engineered, and ourselves and another software company. There was like 5 of us in the room, and where we really got it started. Shaw, Mohawk, and Bull U, there were 3 engineers from there that had a lot of foresight, and that's where it was kind of born. And since then, over the last 20 years, it's been an evolving thing, right? The catalogs are not perfect. Some manufacturers do it better than others. Some manufacturers are barely usable. Like, we will certify that they're coming in, but sometimes they're some of them maybe are not even. It's more useful not even to do it. That's rare. The more typical is they're pretty good. And then there's a few people that are more elite, like Shaw would be there. Mohawk's pretty good most of the time. Dixie's really good. They're just carpet, so it's a lot easier. Some of the hard surface ones are pretty good, right? Let me just say Daltile's pretty good. Imser's pretty good. They're getting actually a lot better. So as we go along, the manufacturers and vendors, we're pointing out the errors and things where they could do it better, and they are getting better at it. And so we have heavy influence on what B2B does and how it works, because we have been there for so long. A lot of people in the industry look to us to help solve the issues, help solve the problems. We're known as being B2B experts in this industry, and I think a lot of people come to us, even not just our customers, but people out around us, to help us help with this effort. So we're very much dedicated to it. We spend a lot of money on it. We spend a lot of money every year on helping support the B2B cause. So it's very much a part of everything that we do. And as QPro evolves, it will for sure contain every B2B function that is available right now. So let me just say that. Okay, question. When pricing is updated, does the description ID number ever change, or does that remain the same? That is going to remain the same. So as the pricing comes in, all the unless the IDs won't change, but things like pricing could change. That's the biggest one that really changes, is the pricing. Sometimes if they have a piece of information that's wrong, like maybe the type or something like that is wrong, they could do an update and correct the type from, let's say, carpet to ceramic tile. There could be a correction. That's pretty rare though. So mostly what's getting updated is the price through these files. That's the biggest thing. If there were ever an ID change, a SKU change, I don't know if you showed that, Licia, the SKU. That SKU is the important identifier, and that's how we match, is by the SKU number right there. So this one, oh, you need to enter a color before it would bring up a SKU, but or a description in the color.
This
That's-
one doesn't have it.
That SKU number, oh, it doesn't have it. Why not?
Because it's test data.
Oh,
All
okay.
of them.
That SKU number would be the, you have one that has it, that one has it. I'll
This
bet
one
that
would,
has it.
yeah, because that's our this is
Exactly.
coming from FCB B2B. The other one was a manually typed one.
There
so
you go.
there
So
you
that
go.
SKU number will not change. That's what everything is dependent upon, right? That's how we match. That's how, you know, things are determined. And so if it ever changes that SKU number, in theory, it doesn't always happen this way, it should, but in theory, this product would get deleted out of there. And then a new SKU number with new data and then information would be put into the thing. For the companies that are doing it really well, that's what happens. They delete the old one, drop the old one, and put the new one in here with the new SKU number. So, but it's that number that everything is dependent upon on the matching from B2B. Good question. Anything else? All other questions can be directed to our support department, I guess. They'll be able to help them, right, Licia? So that's how you want them to contact 801-563-0140. And option 2, I'm sure you guys know how to call them, or support@qprosoftware.com. And here's the there's the contact information there that you can get a hold of them. So anyway, I think that's what we have going for today. Thank you, Licia, for taking some time to explain all that. I think we tag team here. Sometimes there's questions that she knows better than I do, and sometimes there's ones I know a little bit better. So it's good to have us both here, and great to have you guys join us today. So we'll be posting this recording out into our webinar section of our support site. Thank you so much.
Thanks.